So the adjustments have been made by both teams, and there they are. Emirates Team New Zealand on the left, one win away from taking the America's Cup, and their skipper, Dean Barker, and helmsman on the right-hand side, just stepping out of the picture, is Jimmy Spithill, the man that'll be the helmsman for Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup. Tom Slingsby there looking around, trying to figure out what in the world has Mother Nature given them today.
Exactly. They'll have what they call light air packages. They'll have light air foils on board the boat. They will clearly have altered their boat for this condition. But just, I think the big thing to look for today is that the crews have not practiced in these conditions at all recently. It's been very consistent San Francisco Bay conditions, and this is just different.
We've got you covered on every angle as we take you on board Emirates Team New Zealand. Looking to get the job done today, just one victory away from claiming the 34th America's Cup. And across the way, the defenders of the Cup. A lot more chatter on board with Jimmy Spithill and Ben Ainsley.
Todd, even things like time and distance are thrown off today. Really, these guys have since the beginning of their design process, they have catered a boat towards windy conditions. And here we are completely out of the boat and the cruise element. But remember, this is similar conditions to the very last race of the Louis Vuitton Cup when New Zealand crushed the Italians. They didn't seem to be fazed by it much.
30 seconds. How far, Giro? Yeah, I agree. Pretty much at it here. Full pace, full pace, full pace.
So the Kiwis will get port entry today as we go under 2:30 to the start of the race.
Guys, we postponed.
Race is postponed. Yeah.
Emirates, Jimmy, did I copy?
Well, let's go right on board the committee boat with Gary Jobson. Gary, what can you tell us?
Well, there was some fog that rolled there right at the start. The race committee wasn't happy with the situation, so they've reset the clock.
Do you copy Emirates Team New Zealand? Yep, Emirates Team New Zealand copy, postponed. Oracle Racing, do you copy? Oracle Racing copy.
So what we're hearing on live line chatter is the postponement was due to a bad entry mark alignment. Ken Reed, go ahead and translate that.
Well, you see, this is a very different breeze direction today. Far to the left or off the shore front than what we've seen in the past. And it actually would have allowed for a dial up or a dial down in this case. The port tack boat, Team New Zealand could not have gotten across. Therefore, they want to stop and realign the entry buoys.
And one of the few opportunities, they are side by side, just having a bit of a chat in the fog.
6 minutes to start.
They're going to very quickly move these buoys around, though. And Gary, that's the reason why they stopped it, because of the entry?
They did. The outside buoy really was so far down that the starboard boat would have had a big advantage here. So I think John Craig, the principal race officer, made a good call. Let's just take an extra 5 minutes here. Hey, a lot is on the line. Let's get the course right. Good call.
Well, neither team seems too upset by it, and the good news is it wasn't because of high wind, so that's the positive. We will be in a bit of a holding pattern right now as the start is now pushed back to 1:20 Pacific time here in San Francisco, and it is coming up on 1:15 right now. And the weather is the strangest thing. Getting up early this morning, Ken, you're looking up on the hills, kind of where we're staying right now, and the fog is rolling in. It looks like it's more like November, December, but you come down on the water, America's Cup Park, it looks beautiful.
Jibe after that. We'd furl as soon as we cross, right?
Yeah, as soon as we can.
Yeah.
You think they're moving in now?
Yeah, they...
Looks like it's going up the boat.
It's going up the boat. Yeah.
Look at the flags in the committee boat.
So Ray Davies chatting with Dean Barker about possible tactics as the 5-minute flag is up and out, and both boats just barely moving as we go on board Oracle Team USA.
30 seconds.
Yeah, or almost you force him to jibe, and
Long way left.
if he jibes quite early, you come up the windward side of him.
Yeah, exactly, and just separate up.
potentially the last race of the America's Cup.
Yeah.
And these
So
guys
if
are
we can
talking
force them to
brand
drive
new
and go
strategy
around, yeah,
minutes
that's
before the
perfect.
event. It's
And if they go
something
into
that's
attack, they're gonna
totally
be so
unique
much slower.
to
We
sailing.
can go with them. We could even, like, just say we think we're too early and
Oh yeah, we can
go with them and then go back. Because we'll be quicker through the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, we've just got to be ready. As soon as he goes, he can come straight back once he's passing
Yeah.
the wind.
You just stay there, I'll manage
Just
wing
take a
shoot.
side.
Pressure for us, but it still looks a pretty easy dial for him.
So we'll see how the tactics play out. You're looking at the man with a 10 on his helmet. That is the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand, Ray Davies.
They think they're going to get dialed. And let's just talk. This is a word we haven't talked about, because we have this 10-second entry that the port tack boat or Emirates Team New Zealand has to get across. But they still think that that starting line, the entry box, is skewed enough. They're not going to get across. The 10 seconds isn't enough. So it's called a dial up or a dial down, Todd, where the starboard tack boat will start pinning the port tack boat right away, force them into a spot that they don't want to be in.
Gary Jobson, you've been in this position before, on the cusp of winning the America's Cup as a tactician. Whose strategy do you like better?
Well, I like the fact that James Spittle and his afterguard there are talking about being very aggressive and working through different scenarios depending on what New Zealand does. In contrast, Ray Davies seems to be taking a conservative approach here. I just wonder if the collective wisdom of Ben Ainsley and Tom Slingsby is stronger than a one-man approach with Ray Davies.
Still got us killing 5. Kill it. 30 seconds.
Well, I think the Kiwis, unfortunately for them, and this is bad luck, they are on the back foot here. They're coming in on port tack. That entry, 10-second entry, is not going to be to their benefit in this particular case if the other guys can get a piece of them. It's kind of bad luck, Gary, I think, versus really having a strategy. The starboard tack boat has a big advantage if they can't cross.
And not only that, look at this. We got a Jenniker being rolled out just as New Zealand comes in the starting line. Very interesting.
Got to try to get across that starboard tack boat however they possibly can. Looks to me like they might be able to at this stage, but we'll see.
Boys, got to try and cross. That would be a chance of crossing.
Oracle very late coming into the starting area.
He's got to play. No, I've got us across. Got us across.
Favored, only 45 seconds.
Big cross, and we haven't even started the race yet.
Go on, guys. We're on final here for us.
Yeah, we are 7 over at the moment.
Jimmy Spithill saying they're already on final. They're not even going to jive and go with him at this stage. It's so light. They're already thinking about time and distance back to the starting line.
Let's try and get it going
Where do you think we are on ley line, right?
With the flood current, the windward end of the line looks a little bit better to me, Kenny.
Out of the skies. Full pace out of the skies.
Dean Barker nervous right now that he's already late, Todd, and there's a minute to go before the start.
And this is something we have not seen for the entire 34th America's Cup. This light of air with fog.
I think he's staying up.
Yeah, just keep it.
Looking to windward, there's a good gust coming down that's going to get to the boats about 15 seconds after the start. Being windward is going to be advantageous.
We're racing on the box, Jimmy.
Time and distance in a condition that they haven't seen in months.
You are gaining Mark 1 right now.
Full speed, they notice.
Gaining
Yeah,
ground
copy. Yeah,
Mark
full
1.
speed the whole time.
Okay, no need to go too high. I don't think you're going to shut him out.
Here we go. Let's try and get it.
Copy. This is full.
It's a very slow march to the line. 10 seconds to go here on day 10, race number 13.
Up on you now. Nice work, nice and smooth.
So race 13 is underway and is almost a dead heat. Ken, who do you give the advantage to?
Well, for sure to Oracle Team USA. Better time and distance. Team New Zealand was so concerned about getting across them and that initial dial, that port starboard, that they got themselves a little too far away from the line. A really tough, bad break for Emirates Team New Zealand, just having this light of air and having that port advantage.
We have a big luff going on right now. Oracle taking advantage of the leeward right away.
Stay ready for deploying.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw code 0 just to get back down to the mark here, Todd.
No, slow him up here if you can. Give us time.
No, not quite.
Keeping it worked up here, boys.
Not that. Water.
It's a strange, slow march to mark number 1, and the Americans are just happy to push the Kiwis off course.
Just be a better way and then probably a
Todd,
dive
a match
deploy.
race has broken out in this boat speed contest between catamarans. You know, this is traditional real match racing that we've seen so far. Here we go. Code 0's out. They're not even to mark 1 yet.
Kenny, well played by both boats there. Dean Barker being patient, Spittle with the advantage, and they're close.
Ready for a top here? Go. Keep some arms in here. Want to match him here? Yeah, nice.
Got to set up.
Really, don't we? Not one yet. They're setting up. They're happy here, Dino. He's getting slow. He's setting up 10.
Really light air. Big holes. They're having a hard time even flying a hull at times, Todd.
Both boats going through a jibe and both having trouble getting that Jennifer across.
I mean, the irony of this. How many races have we been blown off because of too much wind, and here we are in a drifting contest, and they're not even making the mark. I think they'll get down to it, but Team New Zealand has to be careful here.
The flood current's going right to left on your screen, and it'll take them down to the buoy.
Coming into more pressure this way.
Keep it full brake forward.
Yeah. Go straight, right?
Yeah, for sure. Better pressure this way.
So the Americans officially hit mark number 1, and the Kiwis close behind, but both of them moving extremely slow, and it's a 10-second advantage to Oracle Team USA.
Just let it reconnect again.
These catamarans in this light condition, you'll see dramatic angle changes between the boat all the time. They're always trying to just build speed, use height, and build apparent wind over the wing and the big sails up front. This code 0 that we're referring to, we used to call it a spinnaker, Todd, but now it's called the code 0. It's essentially a big Genoa. That's how much apparent wind that these boats build. There is no such thing as a spinnaker anymore.
Keep in mind, we have a 40-minute time limit in this race. They've been racing for 3.5 minutes, so just something that we'll keep an eye on the clock.
Well, the question I'd have then, Ken and Gary, is if they're traveling this slow downwind, what's the upwind leg going to be like?
Well, it probably won't be a whole lot different because they'll build quite a bit of speed going upwind. They're just struggling to build that apparent wind downwind.
One thing that'll help them upwind is the ebb will start, and that'll bring them up toward the windward mark. The ebb will increase as the day goes on.
Real boat handling contest, completely different scenario as to what each crew member does on board when you're trying to jibe an additional sail. Any little mistake will be magnified on a day like today.
Nice pressure on that bow on 10. Almost hooking up around the bow. Here we go, yeah, here we go.
Boy, Team New Zealand is in a nice little spot here right now. You see that dark water right in front of them. They're going to get into it first and could possibly get right down over the top of Oracle.
Keep sailing your boat.
Keep in mind, Ken, that ebb current along the shoreline will slow the boats down, and being in the middle is good, but right now New Zealand's about to capture Oracle's wind and take the lead.
Pressure on our bow.
Anyway, Lenny, we need to for protection, boundary protection anyway.
New Zealand needs to go one boat length forward to hit their wind.
But this best VMG here. This is really not right hand.
They're talking best VMG. They're just trying to soak as low as humanly possible right now. Low meaning as far downwind as they possibly can, and it's almost drifting. The irony right now, Gary, is if we've had so many races blown out because of too much wind, and now we're already talking about the limit, the time limit, not happening.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm not sure I like the strategy here by Oracle Team USA of sailing a low course. They're going very slow. We're right behind the boats, and I think it's costing them the lead.
Right now, as we take a look at Virtual Eye, the Americans still have a lead, but it is shrinking quickly. It is now down to less than 30 meters.
Okay, big wing now, big wing in this puff.
Watch this, though. Can they get across? I mean, they just stop in the middle of these. If all of a sudden Oracle gets a little puff and New Zealand can't get across, it's a port starboard situation. Angles are just so dramatic between the boats. They can't get to them. Team New Zealand gets ahead.
I'm compelled to bring this up again. Remember, there's a 40-minute time limit, and we've been racing now for just about 7 minutes.
As we listen in on Emirates Team New Zealand.
Yeah, all the way to Alcatraz.
And look at the boat speeds. 20 knots now for the Kiwis and the Americans as they go through a jibe, dropping down to 10 knots.
And Team New Zealand is a jibe ahead. They're one full jibe ahead. These guys are going to be parked for a little while here, trying to build speed.
Pressure is staying down here. Start trimming on, guys, I think.
The difference is it's light, fluky condition. It's make or break sometimes.
Trying to get it going.
Just broke for Oracle right there, that's for sure.
Let's try and build it in. There's pressure coming on you in 5 here.
Long way to go.
Yeah, keep it going, guys. We'll build on you in 5-10 seconds.
And keep the board all the way forward, really.
Yeah. Hey,
New Zealand's got 2 competitors here, Oracle Team USA and the time limit. It's going to become a factor.
There we go, guys.
Todd, it's a 500-meter lead, and about a minute and a half ago, they weren't crossing. That gives you an idea of what light, fluky conditions do to boats like this, do to any boat for that matter.
Starting to lift us.
Good pressure coming here.
Main thing is a nice hull fly jibe.
Yeah, copy, Razor.
It looks a lot better to the north, so looking this jibe. Happy to speed it up if you like before the jibe.
I'm pretty easy now, Razor, so
Yeah.
let's just keep it down 1 minute.
Okay, copy.
30 seconds, boys.
All right, Ken, the big question is, what is Ray Davies seeing out there on the left-hand side, and what's he expressing over to Dean Barker?
He's doing his best Ray Davies impression, which means he's looking ahead and he's not looking behind and being defensive. He's on the attack, looking for the best breeze, and that's exactly what a good tactician should be doing in this case. Just keep looking ahead, keep trying to extend. You get defensive, you will lose.
And the question for Oracle Team USA is, what happened? They had the lead 2 minutes ago, and now they find themselves 380 meters behind the Kiwis. Was it a case of bad luck? They just didn't get the pressure at the right time.
Well, they jibed in unison with Emirates Team New Zealand twice. And in this fluky conditions, when you just go jibe for jibe with the other boat, if they get a tiniest little bit of breeze that you don't, we saw it, things can change in a heartbeat.
And I'd add to that discussion that sailing that low course was not good by Oracle Team USA. Sailing low artificially, let New Zealand get into breeze, and they escaped.
So for the past 9 days, we have seen a race with 2 rabbits out there just sprinting across the course, and today we've got 2 turtles doing battle.
30 seconds.
Turtle's still going 20 knots.
Get pressure for this. Right little pump here. Okay, 25.
Okay, Dina, I'm happy to go back.
30 seconds. Definitely lift when you go.
Yep. Pressure is down for a bit here. We'll build on you in 10. You, Tommy? Yeah. He's light down there. Good pressure coming on us in 10.
It just takes forever to build these boats, build the speed. The reason why they're so fast in medium to heavy air is why they're so slow in light air trying to accelerate. They're almost pointing towards each other here at this stage.
All right, as we go on to virtual eye, Ken, talk us through the VMG and what they're trying to do, and more importantly, what the Americans need to do to close this gap.
Well, it's the difference. It's the speed and the angle to the wind. That is your combined VMG, or your speed towards the mark. And, 20 knots versus 13 knots. Obviously, big advantage to Team New Zealand at this stage, but the 13 knots also takes into account that they're not on the favored tack to the mark right now. They're heading away from the mark a little bit compared to Team New Zealand. Once they jibe, that'll start evening out quite a bit.
Animation courtesy of virtual eye. Now the clock watching continues here, but unlike the other day, it is not a countdown for postponement, Gary. It's a countdown if they can get this race done. It has to be completed in 40 minutes. How do we look?
Well, we've got 28 minutes to go on the timeline. It really is a big factor. If they can get around this leeward gate, they will have a little help from the ebb, but this race is very much at risk at this time.
And Gary, what is the protocol if they do not finish? If the Kiwis go on to win it, but they're outside of the 40 minutes, what happens?
Well, then the race is abandoned, and they simply will start again. So that's what the rule is, and that's what it is. It happened to us in the 1977 America's Cup. We were 4 boat lengths from the finish line and missed the time limit.
Happy early, yeah, happy now.
Steady pressure here. Steady
Pressure.
Start early, Frank. Start early, Frank. Go.
3, 2, 1.
So the Kiwis trying to muscle it around in the light air, and it looks like, Ken, they are getting very close to mark number 2. As Gary pointed out, they should have a little more relief, a little more help from the current as they make their way back up towards mark number 3.
This is all about finding the wind. These guys have shown to be extremely proficient at it. Again, I just go back to that final race of the Louis Vuitton Cup. They just crushed the Italians that race in very similar conditions. I give Ray Davies high marks to begin with, but it seems like in this type of condition, he's all over it.
Can add into the discussion up here at the starting area where we are, and regardless, the wind is not building. It's not any stronger here than it is down by the gate.
Right now it is showing a peak of 12 knots, Gary, holding at 9.4 knots as Emirates Team New Zealand hits gate number 2 with a sizable lead over the Americans, needing just one more victory to claim the America's Cup. But right now, time is not on their side as they have to finish the course in 40 minutes or less.
They've been racing for 14 minutes.
The big myth is light air. It's easier to sail these boats. It's actually, you can make a very good case, it's harder because all of a sudden you're throwing this big code 0 up. Not only do you have to do all the same controls that you normally do in the boat, but you have to jibe this massive Genoa that you've just thrown up in front of everything else. So these guys have it tough no matter what the condition.
20 seconds. 20 seconds. Nice smooth jibe, 20 seconds. No problem, time-wise. Normal jibe. Got 10 seconds on the box now.
Yep, ready.
Okay,
Tommy.
5,
Yep.
5.
Go button.
What do I do?
Go board. Let's go full trim on the 0, boys. Bang it in. Big 0, guys. Missing a lot.
With the time limit a factor on the next leg, leg 3, look for Oracle to tack a lot to try and slow the race down. Every tack, they'll lose about 30 seconds.
They're just struggling getting that 0 in as quick as Team New Zealand did in those jibes, Todd, and that's really costing them acceleration. Just valuable boat lengths every time they try to jibe that big code 0.
Take some wing on, Tom. Pop it. House.
At gate number 2, the lead has ballooned to 1 minute and 40+ seconds. The Americans looking for some magic on the upwind leg as the Kiwis have a massive lead.
Go jib if you can.
Light on jib. Okay, go 1 minute this way. The 0 sheet. Keep it going, guys. Try and dig back into this.
There is the scene, 515 meters between New Zealand and USA, and right now the battle is against the clock. Is there enough wind for the Kiwis to get through the course in 40 minutes or less? If not, as Gary Jobson reported, the race will be abandoned and they will start all over again. So a possible wind condition again affecting the racing, but this time not enough wind.
Feels like it's probably only about 40 seconds the other way, guys. Wind check.
And Ken, you talk a lot about during the start proceedings in the start box, time and distance. And right now, I've got to think that Ray Davies, Gene Barker are doing their best math right now and saying, what is the time and distance to get to the finish line and claim the cup?
Well, keep looking forward, keep being aggressive. Don't do what Gary just said. The clear thing that Oracle Team USA is going to do right now is try to slow this race down. Try to do something, try to keep splitting and slow the race down. These guys are going to have to make a tactical decision. Do they cover tightly, or they just keep trying to sprint towards the finish within that time limit?
In these wind conditions, 510 meters, is it a foregone conclusion the Americans can track down the Kiwis, or are they going to have to rely on the Kiwis trying to cover them or make a mistake?
It's so fleeky out there. We saw, I mean, literally in a minute and a half, this went from being behind to being hundreds of meters ahead. It could easily happen again. Although, Gary, it does look like it's filling a little bit more. At least our helicopter view shows maybe slightly more consistent breeze out there.
Yeah, Ken, you can see that helicopter shot, the darker patches on the water. That means more wind because the ripples on the water are closer together. So New Zealand just got to head for that darker water and hope the wind fills in. But it looks like it's doing it. They have a chance to make the time limit.
The dark patches in the water right there, just to the upper left of Team New Zealand. I'm surprised they tacked right there. Not only were they on top of the other boat, but they were on a long starboard tack. They must really think that the right-hand side of the race course is a big, big advantage at this stage, Gary.
Yeah, the wind is actually bent to the right when you look at that aerial there. They're looking for a starboard shift, and I think that's going to help them make a more direct course up to the windward mark.
Lads doing some serious work there on Emirates Team New Zealand.
Light air does not bring a reprieve, that's for sure.
With Alcatraz Island in the foreground, it's Emirates Team New Zealand trying to sail away and claim the 34th America's Cup. Their lead has come down to below 400 meters, but as Gary Jobson has been reporting down on the water, it is very light wind. And remember, there's a 40-minute time limit, so wind could play a factor yet again, but this time, not enough wind.
We're not yet halfway around the course, and we have 21 minutes to go on the time limit. They've been racing for 19 and a half.
Imagine if you're a fan of Emirates Team New Zealand, you'd want to be an ulcer doctor in New Zealand right now, because they've already had 2 races blown off that they were ahead in.
Right, because of too much wind.
Because of too much wind, and here they are playing with the time limit when they're way ahead in very light wind.
Right, lads. Oh, there we go. Nice and smooth turn. Gonna be pretty soft here.
And how about this? The USA made up 150 yards or meters by those 2 extra tacks by New Zealand.
Well, you heard Ben Ainsley on leg number 1 saying, boys, a lot of time, and Tom Slingsby saying it's a long race, so they're being very patient right now. Slingsby there momentarily taking the wheel. Jimmy Speedo comes over.
Nice. This is a huge priority.
We've got to sort that leeward sheet out, right?
Yep.
Okay. Building nice actually this way. Try and keep a bit more heel, Kyle. Just be more forgiving. We can't afford those.
Is this a repair job going on right now, Kenny?
It's like they just might have a big knot in either their halyard. Probably, I saw that their code 0 was only part way down. It looks like they got a big snarl in the line there right now.
He continues.
Shannon Falcone up there working on that knot, trying to clear the line.
What's fondly in the sailing world called a Herbert. Did you know that?
A Herbert.
A Herbert.
I just want a bit flatter.
Big knot in the line. And I can't explain to you why it's actually called a Herbert.
Spaghetti.
Best option is to just take this all away. Yeah, agreed. There's no breeze out there, top left.
I'm surprised he'll be tacking soon, I guess.
Nice work.
30 seconds to attack.
30 seconds, right?
Joe Spooner and Shannon Falcone doing the hard work up there trying to clear the Herbert. And the lead has now grown up against 484 meters advantage New Zealand.
New Zealand has gone halfway around the course. They've been racing for 22 minutes. They have 18 minutes, so they have to sail faster than they did in the first half of the course. The silver lining, there's definitely a lot more wind here up at the windward gate.
So they're going to have to make up those 2 minutes that would put them over right now, Gary. And by your calculations, I'm going to put you on the line here. Look at your crystal ball. Can the Kiwis get it done?
If I were to guess right now, they'll make it by 1 minute if they get into this increasing pressure, which is only about a quarter mile ahead of where they are right now.
Just nervous moments on both teams for that matter.
No, speed building. I'll do the talking here for a bit. Speed building, that's fine.
So the Kiwis finding favorable wind and pressure. The question now is, can they get around the course in the time allotted as a nation awaits the Cup? And they've certainly found something on the left side of that course, Kenny. Look at the lead beginning to grow.
Nice pressure. They're sailing into pressure. This is the advantage in light air conditions. If the breeze starts to build, it builds typically from upwind first. It comes at you. And if you're the boat ahead and it is on the fill, that's technically an advantage right out of the blocks.
And in addition, Kenny, the ebb current sweeping them toward the Golden Gate helps increase that apparent wind because they got about a knot advantage from the current.
So the pie warmers may not be playing big dividends today, but right now, Dean Barker and company have got themselves in a very favorable position. Remember, if they finish the course ahead of the Americans and get the win under 40 minutes, they will win the America's Cup. You are looking at the current situation right now. New Zealand clear and away from the Americans as they have found the win first, and the Americans are trailing, going slower. Right now, the Kiwis worry about completing this course in 40 minutes or less. If they can do that and stay ahead, the Cup is theirs, and what a way to make the entire nation New Zealand wait for the possibility of the 34th America's Cup coming their way.
Ray Davies just continually looking forward, he's attacking the wind. He's not necessarily attacking his opponent right now. The opponent is the clock.
All the way, stay in this gear. Keep it going.
By my calculation, guys, right now, New Zealand's about 1 minute behind the time limit. In other words, they've got to speed up if they hope to get to the finish line in time.
Can you imagine if they are within, let's say, 50 feet of the finish line and the whistle blows? All that work would go out the window.
Welcome to the 34th America's Cup, really. It's the age of the unpredictable at this stage.
So looking ahead, as you see the distance continue to grow between Emirates Team New Zealand and the defenders Oracle Team USA, the Kiwis, as Gary pointed out, have the favorable current, which is starting to ebb up the left-hand side. That's water rushing out of the San Francisco Bay. Their problem, Ken, is time. Can they get around this course in 40 minutes?
They're definitely switching their tactics to playing that left-hand side of the track. These guys are trying to slow the race down. Maybe Oracle, maybe their strategy right now is head over to the right side of the course and try to drag the Kiwis there. They need the clock to work for them.
But do you think the Kiwis are even concerned about the Americans right now with a lead of more than 800 meters?
Well, if I were them, I would be doing exactly what they're doing. Keep looking ahead and put yourself in the position to get around the race course as fast as you possibly can. Don't fall for the tactics of slowing the race down that the guys behind might be throwing at you.
14 minutes left on the time limit, Ken.
Boy, I don't see it, Gary.
No, as time goes on, it's slipping away. But we're going to have another race today, that's for sure.
Just what these guys do not want to do right now. This will be three, if this happens, this will be 3 races that they've essentially had control of, that the wind in one form or another has taken away.
Derek's got it. Derek's got it. Nice and easy, Pete. Thin chance of laying.
They don't want to hear it right now, though. There is one little fact here. They are sailing better, you know?
That's true. Yeah. I was going to say, Kenny, they're really going well. So forget whether they make the time limit or not. They're faster in light wind. Oracle, to get that heavy air advantage that we've seen the last couple of days, they give something away in this lighter stuff.
If we don't get to right, obviously left go.
Yeah. W2, Frank. I think we could get there. W2, Frank. You got the light?
Round,
Yes.
round right. Massively inside the
I don't know if the Kiwi fans are out there waving their flag or trying to create a breeze.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Look at the change of angles on these boats. Just the tiniest puffs and lulls make such a big difference, and this is what they don't want right now. These guys need a straight run at these marks to try to make up for this,
maybe a follow deploy out of this too. Happy with that.
what the clock is going to do to them.
Inside 30, inside 20.
Good breeze filling in under the Golden Gate Bridge. This is going to help New Zealand.
Gone inside 20.
And Gary, as you're looking at the Golden Gate Bridge and some of the telemetry on board the committee boat, what is the forecast for wind, let's say in 45 minutes?
About 3 knots more, so we'll have more breeze this afternoon.
Happy pull and deploy here.
The ebb current has started, so they're going to be fighting the current going downwind.
Yeah, happy puller here.
Full deploy, no deploy out of here. Full deploy. Winding down, I'm thinking.
On my clock, New Zealand's 2 minutes behind on the time limit.
At gate number 3, it's Emirates Team New Zealand. Not so much concerned about Oracle Team USA, but more concerned about getting some kind of win to get them back down to the course and to the finish line. They are clearly well out in front of the Americans, and that is not a factor. The factor is they have to finish this race in 40 minutes or less, or it will be abandoned.
Essentially what they're doing here, Todd, is called this nice slow jibe set. Tacked around the mark, they didn't unfurl their Jenniker. Now they're on the long jibe for a while. They'll use that big code 0 as long as they possibly can. They just tried to save some maneuvers for the boys. Look how slow they come out of these things, though.
They have to go 4.5 miles in 11 minutes.
Right hand here, boys.
Really nice heading here.
Yeah. I've got issues with their 0. They might not even have a 0 on this run. No, just painting the picture, mate. Changes our world too.
So the chess match continues here in San Francisco. Emirates Team New Zealand 1 win away from taking away the America's Cup from the defenders Oracle Team USA. They have the lead. Everything seems to be in their favor. except Mother Nature. The wind is just not there, and they have to complete the course in 40 minutes or less, or the race will be called off no matter where they are on the course.
Okay, anytime. Here we go, boys, tacking. And holding.
Well, if Emirates Team New Zealand is close to not finishing the course in 40 minutes, there's no way in the world Oracle Team USA is going to get there. Kenny, at some point, as they make the mark at gate number 3, do they just kind of lay up and say, this thing's going to get blown off, let's just save our energy?
You never know. You can't. These guys are competitors. They're going to keep going hard to the end. You never know what could possibly happen. Their code 0 could fall in the water. We saw that during the youth event. You just never know. So you keep pushing on and hope for the best.
2 minutes and 20 seconds is the advantage to Emirates Team New Zealand over the defenders Oracle Team USA, and now they look for something magical on the downwind leg.
Keep going. Keep coming, guys. Keep coming. Got 500 bar.
I think you heard Ray Davies make this call that they must have damaged their code 0 in some way when they took it down, either that or the halyard, because it doesn't look like they're even flying a code 0 on Oracle at this stage.
Go forward, Timrin. You have to get the rest in the turn, okay? Just rake forward for him, Tommy.
Makes me wonder if they could get that problem fixed for the next race, if we have another race, if the time limit doesn't work. 8.5 minutes for New Zealand to get to the finish line, which is just over 3 miles away.
Okay, Todd, you've been doing this for a while now. Now that you're a sailing expert, and I might add that you've been sailing once in your life, are they going to make it?
As the folks around the world will attest, I know very little about sailing, and I will go even further in saying I don't think they're going to make it.
Okay, there you have it.
So yeah, I'm happy to set up here.
The lead is more than 1,200 meters to Emirates Team New Zealand, 1 win away from taking the America's Cup. The problem is not necessarily where they are on the course. The problem is the wind that is pushing them down the course against the ebb tide. Will they make the 40-minute cutoff as everyone continues to do the math and try to figure out how fast they're going, how far they have to go, and doing a little bit of a count back? Well, Gary Jobson's probably got the fanciest wristwatch out there. Gary, what are your calculations telling you?
Well, on my fancy wristwatch, the calculations say that New Zealand's in a lot of trouble. They have approximately 7 minutes to go 2.5 miles to get to the finish. Very difficult in this light air.
So there is virtual eye, and there you see the distance, the red line representing Emirates Team New Zealand. As Gary has mentioned, you can see just how far they have to go. They're coming up at about the halfway point of leg number 4. And Kenny, I'll tell you, unless something big comes up, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
It doesn't. And we've been talking about regrouping in the face of either tragedy or, bad luck or whatever it may be. This is going to be a regroup on Emirates Team New Zealand like we have maybe never witnessed. They're sitting here looking at the America's Cup, sitting in their cockpit at this stage, and it's going to get taken away from them, but most likely by this time limit.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice move by Oracle Team USA to jibe and keep it in the center and try to get New Zealand to maneuver. Every maneuver cost them 30 seconds.
Down on the flags there, I imagine.
But as a newbie to the sport, Gary and Kenny, why would Emirates Team New Zealand even care what the Americans are doing right now?
I don't think they do. I think they are fully just, well, as he turns around, of course, but I think they are fully focused on closest tack to the mark. Keep it simple. Just keep heading towards the mark and hope like crazy that that little bumblebee there can make it around in the next, 5-6 minutes.
Well, in my calculation here, Kenny, they have about 4 minutes to get around the leeward gate if they have any hope of making the time limit.
Yeah, not a chance. But listen, I wonder if they know on board. That's the interesting part. They don't look like they know.
I'll tell you who does know. Ray Davies. He might not be saying anything. He knows.
3, 2, hit it now. Very nice, boys. We
We are are now at 5 minutes until the cutoff. So a top of the hour local time here in San Francisco. If Emirates Team New Zealand is not across the line at 2 o'clock local time in San Francisco, this race will be abandoned.
And a horrible wind shift for New Zealand, taking them away from the mark. More bad luck, wind going down. It's looking dim.
I have to admit, I feel really bad for these guys. They have worked so hard. They have sailed such a good race. And, you know, sequence, just the way things work sometimes.
You know, Ken, you talked about Grant Dalton, the team leader, not being on board for this race. It's light air. He was off the boat. I wonder if he'll come back on board for the next race.
So to put this
coming up in this, Dino, so we're actually not far off it. Okay.
The Kiwis trying to stay positive there.
30 seconds, you happy with that? Yep, happy to go. 30.
To put this in context, Kenny, this is like running the Indy 500 and getting to about lap, what, 450, 475, and going, sorry, boys, got to shut the track down.
498. You know, it's...
When that clock in the bottom right-hand side of your screen hits 40, the race will have to be completed. If not, we're in an abandoned situation. And if we can get you an aerial view and show you just exactly where the Kiwis are on the course, you'll get an idea of what we're thinking about as we take a look at virtual eye. They've got a long way still to go.
Yeah, by my calculations, they'd have to be right about at the mark now.
At Mark 4.
Yeah, to do this. And they still got a little ways away. They've got to furl up that code 0. They got to put it away, make a jibe around the mark.
Got about 6 minutes to finish this thing.
You know, one thing they got to talk about is how to get a better start. Jimmy Spittle and Oracle Team USA has won 3 starts in a row decisively. New Zealand's got to do better if they want to get an early lead.
So I just heard Ray Davies say we got about 6 minutes to finish this thing. Gary?
He's off. He's off. He got 3.5 minutes.
He obviously doesn't have as nice a
2.5
timepiece as
minutes.
Gary.
2.5 minutes.
It's very close to this time.
You hear him talking very close to the time limit, so they haven't really talked about it up until this stage. That's the one thing that's obvious.
Well, you hope the Kiwis get the information before they hit the line, because I would hate to see a premature celebration if they get there and the race has been called off. Meanwhile, Oracle Team USA has been dealing with their own problems. Looked like a snarled line out there. Shannon Falcone and Joe Spooner out there trying to clear the line. They are back in their cockpit positions, but right now they are just struggling and hoping that this race is abandoned.
Yeah, we were told that it was actually a sheet. They had to replace a sheet, cut and replace a sheet. So that's what took them a little long to get around that mark.
40 seconds.
I thought it just shows that these guys are not used to sailing with these code 0s. Really, that's the bottom line. They haven't sailed in this condition in a long, long time.
30 seconds. Nice little puff here.
We are less than 90 seconds away from the time limit here. Day 10, race number 13 looks to be like it is headed for an abandoned situation.
Oh, you've got to feel for these Kiwis. I mean, they have sailed an amazingly good race here. Really, again, through no fault of their own, the wind gods are trying to take this away from them, you know? Good news is they're still up 8-2.
Under a minute to go, they have to round mark number 4, and then it's still quite a distance to the finish line,
The other way.
and they are nowhere near where they need to be.
New Zealand, I am very sorry this is happening to you, but boy, oh boy, tough break for these guys.
Definite jibe with the sail. You're all right, Razor? Yep.
Less than 30 seconds now.
What about
And whether Ray Davies
20
knows,
seconds to a jibe?
whether he knows that the time limit's out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They've been sailing as fast around the race course as possible. They weren't going to make up 5 minutes.
A little early here.
So with 10 seconds to go, we will listen in and see if we hear the official word.
3, 2, 1, driving.
This is race committee. Time limit has expired. This race has been abandoned. The race has been abandoned.
Frustration on the face of the Kiwis and wry smiles on the face of Oracle Team USA.
Get out of jail free card by Oracle Team USA.
Yeah, Team New Zealand copy, 32 minutes for the next one. Oracle Racing, you copy?
Yeah, Oracle Racing copies. Obviously, thanks for that.
Ben Hisley, thanks for that. Well, Ken, we've seen just about everything. Near capsizes, too much wind, not enough wind. What will be in store for race number 14?